Welcome back to The Joy of Vinyl. I'm Rick Coste. Today I'm going to look at yet another subject that leads to debate in the audio community. Speaker wires. Perform a quick search online and you'll see speaker cables that are priced anywhere between $10 on upwards into the thousands. Yes, I said it, the thousands. I know, as if having to worry about components like preamps and power amps isn't enough. Not to mention speakers themselves, and now we have to worry about quality speaker cables as well. Let's start off with exactly what it is we are talking about. Now, here's a spool of cable wire. I purchased this on Amazon a couple years ago. It's 16 gauge, I believe. Yeah, 16 gauge. And it had great reviews. I think I paid around $15 or $20 for a 100-foot spool. Did you just hear a bunch of audiophiles out there throw their record weights at the screen? So, back to what it does. So the cable, it conducts a signal between two components. It's made of braided wire, usually copper, which this one looks to be the one that I purchased on Amazon. And the jacket, the outside material, is made of plastic. The plastic serves as insulation, and it's meant to protect the copper wires from outside signals like radio waves or other electromagnetic sources. When that happens, the signal suffers from interference. Now, interference is what we want to avoid. So back to these cables. All things being equal, I would expect the signal transmitted to my speakers to suffer no degradation. Now, this isn't a perfect world, though. There are things to consider, like the distance the signal has to travel. The longer the distance, the thicker cable or thicker gauge of cable wire that you want. So if, say, the distance was 100 feet and you used thin speaker cables, by the time the signal gets to the speakers or component, it would be a shadow of itself. And that's because it encounters resistance along the way. Now, unless you are running cables for, say, a live performance or a live show, we won't encounter cable links that long. For most home setups, a gauge of 12 to 16 is great. The lower the gauge, or AWG, which stands for American Wire Gauge, the better. Now, if the distance needed to run the cables is 10 feet or less, the 14 to 16 gauge is fine. A little longer, go with 12 gauge. And that's keeping it simple. Now, what about my 16 gauge cables from Amazon? Well, they were fine. The distance I had to run them was less than 10 feet. But of course, the more I read, I'm constantly confronted with cable prices in the hundreds, if not the thousands. Now, did I make a mistake when I bought the 100-foot cable for $15? Well, I decided to test this. I picked up a pair of slightly more expensive 14 gauge speaker wire. Not incredibly expensive, maybe $20 a cable. The wire is oxygen-free copper, which I don't think my Amazon wire was. Instead of only plastic, the new one, or the ones I bought, had nylon jacket and comes with gold-plated banana clips. Gold has a lower resistance for better signal transmission. Again, it doesn't break the bank, and it's hopefully a step up from what I had. So was it? Yeah, it was. Was it drastic? No, it wasn't drastic, but it was noticeable. I went to my go-to test record, Yes's 90125. Now, there's a lot going on that record, and the sound separation is incredible. The production value is amazing. I did notice slightly better bass and better mid-range. The only thing that changed was the speaker cable. I also suspect, but wasn't able to confirm, that the speaker wire from Amazon wasn't pure copper, but was instead copper-clad aluminum. Is that a bad thing? No, it's not. It just cuts cost a little bit. But it's lesser quality and will affect conductivity. In that case, thicker gauge would have been better. Now, is my next purchase a pair of cables that will set me back a few $100? Absolutely not. For one, I can't afford that. I have other tweaks I'd like to make, but I might play around with the cables I use. I have to admit, I was pleasantly surprised that for a few bucks, without breaking the bank, I could slightly improve my sound. I thought it was worth letting you know about. And something else, if you enjoyed this episode and want to know when new episodes are released, click subscribe over here. And until next time, please take care of yourself and enjoy your records.